Welcome back to Legend of Mana. So, for the quest of today, let's go back to Domina and see what happens. But first, I'm gonna take a bit of a diversion to showcase exactly what I meant with the library first. Essentially, as I mentioned, you can view all your books that have been given to from the beginning of the game of some characters here, including stuff about the artifacts, the there you go.
The sound effect.
It's typical of the game itself. There you go, you get pictures. I'm gonna just showcase here a bit. Similar to what happens, at least from what you showed me in Avatar Last Airbender, which combines different types of animal, here it makes a weird fruit with combining like animals with the fruit. It's gonna become apparent a bit more later. You can also get these from your artifacts and the locations all covered in the characters.
So, does this mean that we have a fusion of meat and fruits and veggies?
Apparently, Jova, and trust me, there's there are some implications on how you use those that weird, but we're gonna see both by the end of the part. Anyway, don't mind, the descriptions are relatively simple and they don't explain too much. They're just cherry on top of the cake in that regard. And they kind of give you a hint on what the artifact represents. So, for example, the flame represents a city that it needs to use its flame constantly in order to light up. So, essentially, a city that's shrouded eternally in night, as we will see in a couple of parts. It's actually one of my favorite cities, especially tied to the side quest it ties to. But all in due time. For now, let's go back to Domina.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's time. Essentially, it's time now to make. Oh, hold on. You'll be this guy, Pedro, because obviously.
All right. Oh no! Nobody knows. Lots of pumpkins took over West Domina.
Oh my God!
I bet a real bad mage is up to wipe us out with a army of pumpkins. I can go on with any job, and yes, that's my joke.
Yeah, apparently it's a pelican who stores Gaeus.
Little sorcerers.
Yes.
Oh, but I need to go. This is so hairy scary.
But guys, the threat is real. The city is about to get conquered with 10
You literally
pumpkins.
came in front of my house to say that.
You just came there to say hello. How nice.
Oh?
Alright, I might as well check it out and see what happens. Because as I mentioned, it's time to make your house a bit less empty, shall we say.
What, are we gonna kill that guy and use his corpse as a decoration?
Well, the load times are not that intrusive, dweebs. He just happens to be there for a bit, obviously. Also because it's
okay, I've definitely...
It's because due to being a PS1 RPG, there's essentially every background is pre-rendered, so you need to load. And yes, Joe, I know what you're thinking. Again, Shimomura style comes from here, so if you're a fan of Kingdom Hearts soundtrack, you'll be just right at home.
I know I've heard this particular melody from another one of her soundtracks.
A lot of the instruments that Shimomura loves to use essentially started also from here. A couple of them started also in Mario RPG. I kind of recognized them.
Well, it's not just the instruments, it's actually the melody and the rhythm of this particular tune. Like, I definitely feel like I've heard an updated version of this in another game somewhere.
It helps the fact that it's actually one of the best tracks in the entire game. Hold on, actually, cutscene. Jova, you'll be the guy, and Dweebs, you'll be the girl.
Which one's the guy and which one's the girl?
Purple hair. Jova. Just wait until you see how they're called.
But stop laughing like that.
But it's a disco rave in the pumpkin field. Lisa, you and... Oh, it's Bard and Lisa.
Bud and Lisa. Originally, we were supposed to be calling Japanese version Bud and Corona.
Get it?
The beer type.
So we have ourselves
beer type Sushiro.
So we have a Simpsons reference
they're
here.
ruining the world with pumpkins.
Rule the world with pumpkins.
In the disco! Everybody bow to my rhythm!
Excuse me.
Hey, still makes more sense than conquering the world with a
Hey,
candle.
you! Kneel before Bud, the malignant, if you know what's good for
Pumpkins
ya!
aren't that bad.
Why not get your pumpkins to do it?
They're too busy pumping out the music, sis! Okay, right after we teach the scum a lesson!
Jeez, you need to cool off.
So in case you notice, Bud is essentially the arrogant wild brat, while Lisa is essentially the more cold, calculative type that keeps him in check, essentially. So yeah, you need to fight them. And it's weird because there are only a couple of tournaments who actually uses magic competently in this game, because I haven't mentioned it yet, but magic in this game is weird, in a sense, but you cannot cast it normally. You need items to use in order to cast it properly. Also, you don't have an MP bar for that. But enemies can do that more frequently than you, and as you may notice, they also use elements, the little spirit elements to attack gnome, sylph, salamander, and stuff like that. I don't really recommend having a magic build, because it takes a bit of time of resting and it's not really worth it compared to the fast-paced normal combat. This game was really made in mind with the melee combat in range.
And
Go
now,
ahead, Jola.
to do the most heroic thing of any hero in an RPG, beat up
Killing
two little
children,
kids.
yes.
Although I have to
Our
give it
hero.
this, I'll have to give it this,
Yeah.
these two can sure hold their own. Well-
Pumpkin bomb. And yes, the chaos debuff actually confused debuff reverse your controls.
Oh, goody.
My
Trust me.
favourite kind of attack.
It can fuck you up really easily if you're
Can I have a
not
time,
prepared.
please?
Go to 7 minutes.
Yes, Yuri, it's 25 minutes past 10.
7
Oh,
minutes.
ha ha ha.
Hardy
Right,
hard.
7.
You're at 7
Yeah.
minutes.
Anyway,
Almost there.
it's on my headcanon that these pumpkins are beating out that disco rhythm. I mean, this is quite a beat they got going.
It's one of the boss themes of the game. It's not my favorite, but it's there. Almost there, Chiri. Don't
Okay.
worry.
They hid multiple stereos in the pumpkin.
Alright, and click.
Got it.
So basically, this is Bart and Lisa.
Yeah,
Square
they're,
Enix
I gotta say,
edition.
I gotta say, guys, this beat is actually really pumpkin.
You can say it's almost Pumpkin Hill, like.
Yeah. Ghost pumpkin
Well,
soup to go with
they
it.
are technically on a hill.
Yeah, it's the
yeah.
top hill of Domina.
Yeah. Eventually, there'll be a remake of that level where you're doing nothing but climb up a hill with pumpkins everywhere.
Also, would you believe me if I say that this is actually one of the most intense battles in the entire game?
By two kids.
That's intense.
It
Mostly
is.
because one, it is a duel.
trust me.
Mostly because one, it's a dual boss fight, and second, because they are actually fast-paced and have wide range of area attack. There is one that takes the cake, but it's a cheap shot. More into that later.
Whoa, no way! Please, make me your apprentice.
You actually have a choice
I'm
now.
sorry about my little brother, Bud.
Also, can you just...
Can
stop
come with
moving?
My
you.
name's
I can-
Lisa.
I can come with you. I can learn
Bud
with
is
you.
such a prankster.
You almost
Wow,
took
they
over
really
the
are
entire
Bart and
town.
Lisa.
I command thee, be my apprentice, you dipshits.
Wow. How generous.
Here's the thing, there's a lot of side quests that are tied to them. If you say no, you're automatically locked out of this.
Oh, snap.
Oh.
But it's pretty much a thing that the game throws you in your face and say, oh, this is supposed to be important, so
So are
don't
these
screw it
two
up.
like one of those big main quests you were referring
No,
to?
no. And you cannot lock out of one of the main story arcs.
Okay.
But however, they're still very important to see, so it's only recommended if you want to do a speed run.
Besides, these two look like they could be very powerful potential party members.
They are, but remember, you can only carry one at a time. And there you go. From now on, we're gonna live in your house. I mean, the space is big, so might as well.
Okay, this town nearly got taken over by two preteen kids.
Scary pumpkins.
All right, let's see
Oh.
what little cactus has to write about this.
Does the protagonist just not know that his cactus can come to life?
It's one of those things that he knows, but also knows that the cactus is just too shy and wants to wait for him to get out of the room.
Aww.
All right, let's see. Go ahead.
Today I heard a story about two little sorcerers trying to become the kings of this world. But pumpkins? They used pumpkins? I hope they're still yummy.
They're a
Okay.
blast.
Pretty much.
Still, I have to give the two kids credit. It's not every day you come across well, kids of all things that nearly take over a village.
Their side quests also they're gonna explain a bit of their side or their story essentially and how they became what they are now.
But yeah, again, somebody was a fan of The Simpsons, I see.
The localization team. Once again, the original names were Bud and Corona to reflect beers, but obviously the localization was like, for children, it's not really appropriate.
They were also probably like one of the 5 people that saw North, because, you know, remember the part of that quote-unquote plot was that kid taking over the world.
So now let's go back to Domina once again. There is also another side quest, which is going to teach us one of the mechanics of the game. Basically, for a couple of the side mechanics of the games, like blacksmithing, they're going to count as their own side quest, essentially.
Seriously, where have I heard this tune from? I just know I've heard this tune from
It
another
originates
game.
from here, Jova, but as far as I recall, it hasn't been remixed outside of a specific concert that has been held alongside with Shimomura's other works.
Wait, did you say near?
No, other works.
Okay. It's just like, yeah. It's just the melody sounds so much like it. Anyway, I gotta say, for a game of this age, there's a lot of content involving side quests.
Well, that's the problem, Joe. It's entirely built around it, essentially.
Oh, so it's kind of like Majora's Mask.
Oh, no, there you go. It's you, Pedro.
Look, a monster egg.
Okay.
It's a beast egg. You never see wild eggs around here.
So here's the thing, Dweebs. It's like Pokemon, since they lay eggs, but the problem is that the eggs are now sentient and just run away already. But
So it's like Togepi?
How hard could it be to catch?
What's a paladin?
It's freaking Togepi.
So maybe
I
right
know,
now,
I
someday
can't-
we'll
I
grow
can't
up
do
to be a
Togepi.
big monster. Of course, most monsters hate people. They try to harm us.
Undertale?
Weird monster. But a monster raised from youth learns to protect.
Okay, a beast egg.
Beast is the type of monster that it will become.
It's a bit of a random RNG factor, but you can get a hint on based on the area where you find the monster. Basically, a couple of the dungeons have specific areas which the egg monsters spawn.
That's racist.
Hold on. However, based on the dungeon type, you can imagine what the type of is going to be, like a dragon or a rabbit.
Ooh,
right?
dragon types. Let me guess, dragons are the most powerful ones. Types.
Pretty much. Let's just say that for now, let's just go for the capturing phase. Essentially, we need to get it from behind. So we don't need to see us. It's kind of like a stealth mission. And what we need to do in order to lure it is to use food. And this is also where the fruit comes in, because the fruit can be used as food, as bait, in order to attract the monster. Of course, some monsters are more attracted to other types of food, like a dragon egg is more attracted to meat instead of like a standard fruit. Once you capture them, as I will show you, be teleported to your house, which has a ranch Corral thing, which when they will grow, kind of like in the Pokemon carrier stand. Daycare. And after they hatch, you can get them essentially as your third party member. Essentially, it's a more elaborate version of how do you obtain monster in Final Fantasy 13 Toon, which I say took.
So 13-2 is a throwback to this game.
Yeah, that's what I mentioned also in our playthrough.
Yes.
And it kind of works the same. You have the main party member, your ally, which, well, in 13-2 was part of a plot, but here you just get it randomly, and a pet that you raise.
So...
Alright, so let's try some Belgrade.
It's the Safari Zone.
So question.
Well, remember, Jova, that was that one dungeon, the first 13, that supposedly was a throwback to Magus's castle, even though that made no sense whatsoever.
Oh, Pedro, I have not forgotten all the throwbacks to Kingdom Hearts 13-2 gave us. Anyway, so how full can your house be with, all these people that you help out every now and then?
1 second, Jova.
Pedro?
Oh, sorry.
I think, it tells you, but it's like between
we are
5 and
at the
10.
back. This
Oh,
is the
3.
monster Corral. You can let up to 3 monsters grave. Monsters will level up when you leave them grazing here.
So essentially,
basically, it's like
game.
the daycare. They'll grow up to become reliable partners for your journey. The
I
monster eggs
prefer-
that you caught are
yeah.
in the park.
I prefer using the monster directly on the field because you can make them level up, especially using the ring that shares experience.
My guess is like, basically any monsters that you don't have grays out here to level up show up inside your house.
Sorry?
The monsters that you don't bring with you and the monsters that you don't, put out to the fields to graze, I guess that the remaining ones show up inside your house.
Yeah, here in the barn they remain, yeah.
Oh, it's just in the barn, not in the
In the barn
house.
you can take up until 5 eggs, while outside you can get up to 3 monsters grazing around.
Boy, it sounds like that there's gonna be a lot of people rooming in different areas of your house.
Well, it's a big house anyway, so yeah. And trust me, it's not even completely full yet. There are a couple of stuff in the outskirts of the house that we haven't seen yet that's gonna be rebranded as the game goes on and the side quests we complete, which are tied to the secondary mechanics, just like the barn is for the monsters. Now, here's the thing, I'm not gonna dedicate completely to monster recruiting. I'm just gonna use the standard monster that I got here, which we will see later on what kind of monster it is.
Please be careful.
Sorry, Jova. No clothes but no cigars. You'll see.
What, is there a dinosaur type?
No, Jova, but you'll see in
Alright.
due time. But you can get pretty creative in how you handle your monsters. Sorry, very useful for the rounds when you wanna, where you wanna high up your
Oh
difficulty.
my god, I
because,
forgot that was all a side quest. So, in theory, you
Yeah.
could actually miss out on this if you don't get that side quest.
potentially, but it's very hard to not run into it, especially if you roam around. As I mentioned, the cities are not big outside, and even the dungeons are sort of pretty specific ones. So you can run into side quests even by accident almost immediately.
Oh, those are fine. My only issue is that if you choose not to do a side quest at a certain time, there's a good chance you may never get to do that side quest again.
No. You can. The only thing that's missable are some of the side quests if you're locked out, but it's an extremely specific case. And
They're not that important, though, are they?
yeah, but here they just teach you the secondary mechanic. You can graze through the game just easily enough.
My guess here is like, well, it's sort of a case like Final Fantasy 7, 8, and 9 in that, yeah, there's a lot of side quests in there that technically aren't important to stuff, but if you want the full experience, you definitely
Yeah,
want
but
to.
unlike in those games, Jova, you can run into them and complete them really easily. The only thing you constantly need to check if you want to completion is letting Leo Cactus write his stuff.
So,
Go
in
ahead.
some way, this
Now
game...
my master can bring my eggs of other animals to raise them as pets. I can't pet them all because I'm all spiky, but humans will be okay because they aren't spiky like me.
Don't let the
Aw.
Phoenix
Yeah.
right.
Mhm.
But anyway, though, so I guess in a way this game kind of does some of that stuff better than 7, 8, and 9.
Both better and worse, Jova, because it
Yeah.
handles better, but it's essentially the central mechanic of the game. Even the main story arcs are tied to this.
Huh.
So again, it's an acquired taste, essentially. But as I mentioned, I still recommend, even just by seeing a playthrough on YouTube, just by seeing how the story written is about.
I will say one thing I'm definitely loving is how the game definitely rewards you for doing that stuff. Like, seriously, you're constantly getting new content here and there. It's like,
Yeah.
that's something
and
that
even
surprisingly is
even-
not as common these days.
And aside from a few specific things, each side quest, even the minor side quest, progresses a story arc. So you're gonna see, by the end of the game, you're essentially gonna be a lot empathizing a lot with the characters that you've met during your journey. Even
Which
the
means
more
one's
minor
gonna
ones.
die, I'm guessing.
I'd say only in the majors. Oh, but you think you kinda
Jova.
called this one, Jova. Now let me explain this. This is Miss Yuka. This is a chocobo, even though she's pretending to be not. That one is her bird, Pee-wee. When she says that it's fragile, she means it. If you talk to that bird more than 20 times, it breaks and it dies.
Wait, what?
Yes.
And the game
Talking
never,
to it.
aside from the generic statement, the game never tells you. Hold on, important stuff here, because it's your cat girl.
Oh, alright. Say, what do you know about the mana tree?
The Great
Nothing.
Deku Tree?
That's a weird thing to
Literally.
mention, but okay. I don't really know. I just came here, you know.
I know there's no such thing as the mana tree.
Which
Then why
means
did
we're
you
probably...
tell us
Hold on. Keep that phrase in mind. It's important for the main story of the game in general.
Just that I want to help a friend of mine.
Okay.
Have you heard of the important plot MacGuffin? That's because there's no such thing as the important plot MacGuffin.
If the mana tree was real, then I just thought that maybe.
But Dwibs, what if the important plot MacGuffin is a legend? All legends are born of truth.
What happens to your soul after you die?
There are many
You see,
theories about that.
there's this theory that says
Lady-
that there's a...
Lady,
there's
you're
this-
getting a
hold
bit
on.
too existential on me. Come on.
Well, she has a reason, but I'll say later. Don't worry.
Let me guess. Her best friend died, and she thinks that this Legend of Mana Tree can either revive him or send him to the right place in death.
Close. Hold on, she's telling you.
I've been wounded 100 times, but no one has ever hurt my soul.
Crawling in my skin.
So
the
what-
wounds
This
they
is, a,
will
this,
not
is a,
heal.
this is the part where I would walk away slowly.
I can't believe that something could happen to my soul.
What
So
are
what's
you?
the fuck? Can you just get to the point?
What are you? Wait. Oh, wait, I get it now. Her
You
friend...
know, I want to go meet
Gaius.
Gaius.
It's one, essentially it's one of the big sages of the game.
Guy.
It's,
Guys, I think I
So,
figured it
let's
out.
go.
Oh, thank you. I knew you would say that.
I know...
Yes, Judge Dredd.
I know
Best
who
of
her
all.
friend... I know... Okay. I
And there you go.
know...
She joins the party for the Wisdom of Gaeus. Go ahead, Joe.
I think I know who her friend is.
Well, we haven't met it yet, Joe.
Her
It's
friend
not
is
it's
Bub.
not Nicolo.
Her friend is Bubsy,
No.
who was soon to die eventually, but would only come back later. Years later.
Essentially, Jova is she can imply she's gonna be more out with it later. And there you go. Since she's a monk, she uses nunchuck as a weapon. And she also has her set of skills and abilities.
So
But the point
since-
is, Jova, one of her friends is essentially dying, and she wants to meet with Gaius to understand what's the best thing to do. And again, one of the sages is the best thing to ask when it comes to wisdom in this regard.
Okay. Obvious Bubsy jokes to be made aside, since the series was dying at this time. Since she's tailing along with us for the
For this
duration
side
of this
quest
side
alone.
quest, does this mean that she's following us like anywhere, or only when we go to like side quest specific areas?
Anywhere. The party members only leave you when you re-enter your house, essentially,
So-
or do you switch over with other party members?
So regarding that, couldn't she technically end up following us like the rest of the main plot, assuming we don't go back into the house?
Potentially, yes. Also, that thing is a teleporter. I
What?
don't know. Darcy, Jova, I don't know.
That thing looked
Just
like
what we did.
a mutated slowpoke. And I don't think they can do teleport.
Another thing, what she mentioned about the mana tree, it's a bit of a throwback to the previous game, because up until this point, in almost every mana game, the mana tree is this big MacGuffin thing that either grants people wishes or anything. So it's rather kind of like as a god figure, essentially. But however, despite us having seen in the beginning of the game that speech about the mana goddess, about the tree and everything, the characters are speaking as if the mana tree has never been around to begin with. So something clearly is not right. But we'll have to see what's going on. As I mentioned, this character in particular in this side quest also starts one of the three major story arcs, which is my least favorite of the bunch,
So
the fairy arc.
Okay. So how does this go? Does while going through one of the three main ones, you then come
You can
across
tackle
the other two?
you can tackle that. Yeah, you can tackle them in which order you prefer, and even finish.
I like her
your-
dashing animation.
Yeah, well, she's a cat, so yeah. You can tackle them in the order you prefer and finish them in the order you prefer, but the final dungeon of the game itself, the very final dungeon, will be unlocked after finishing just one of them. No matter what you end first, then you'll get immediately into the side quest that unlocks the final dungeon, and you can potentially go there. Just
Oh,
gonna sit around there.
Oh, I get that. I'm just wondering, how are the three main plots introduced? Is it like, is it like, well,
subtly, in a sense. You don't really know what at first. If you're first run, you don't really know what it's gonna tie into. But after a couple of the side quests that are tied to the story arc, yeah, as soon as you will start up, an icon will appear. Oh, hold on, this is important. Dweebs, you'll be this sage. And no, this is not a rock biter.
Welcome, my children. Come closer.
Thanks. No, thank you.
What happens if you say no?
Just go back. Hello.
Hello there.
And then
What can I do for you?
Don't eat me.
But it's a rock biter. Alright, important.
They look like
My
you
friend's about to
on
die from a
hand.
demon's curse.
Sure, BRB? Oh,
Yes, she's bad.
Okay.
What can I do to help her?
Okay, so what's the sage advice of this?
Do what your friend wants you to do. Fuck off.
Okay, simple enough, but...
She hasn't asked me to do anything for her.
Well, crap.
Hold on.
Well, that's unfortunate.
She's just going to accept what's going to happen.
So guys, we're already in part 2 and we're already talking about euthanasia. Having fun yet?
Oh, dang!
Oh, then you must accept that. And do it better than how House did it. Did you understand what that person said to you?
So wait, is this like one of those countries that is too high on the
No,
birth
I
rate?
didn't.
Well, there's no strict morality, it's more something that depends person to person. Catgirl here wants her friend to leave.
She was so strong-willed.
We'll actually see what happened to her in order to
The
reduce
demon weakened her, both in body and in spirit.
Our insight is a fucking bitch, but I cannot speak.
It
yet.
is. Yeah.
Eh?
I
Jova,
only wanted to help her regain her form myself.
I'm gonna say only this, Jova, and I'm gonna say it only now. In the entire story arc of the fairy arc, this catgirl is probably the only likable character, and that's all I have to say.
Oh, let me guess. It's gonna be treated like one of those pretentious tales where we're supposed to respect what a lot of characters say, but they're so obviously dickish, and it's just bad
Not
writing.
just that. Let's just say that every other character is a complete asshole in their own way.
So it's like
Yeah.
the New Gods comic.
Let's just say
Oh,
that. Let's just say this. This
By the
arc.
way, Dio, there should be an ancient tree around your house.
but I live in an apartment.
He will help you with many. Okay, your apartment then. Semantics. Come again, my children.
We'll come back to Gaeus another time for another side quest. You were saying, Jova?
Well,
Yeah.
actually, I was the one saying.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead,
Yeah.
Pedro.
Let's say, Joe, this particular arc needed to be Hinonized, sort.
Hinonized.
You know,
In a
because
sense that he needed to balance stuff.
Like, there's one thing Hino's great at is making likable characters. in a sense.
Oh, well, there's a lot of people good at that.
Oh
I
yeah, I
mean-
know. It's just that our JRPG, so he was the
I've
one.
got a
that came up with
forbidden
it.
ring.
Yeah, let's see. What JRPGs did Hino do before Ni no Kuni?
When
Dark Cloud, Dark Chronicle.
Jova, let me. Okay,
Dark-
Jova, let me give a basic rundown. The first game he made was a JRPG. Second as well. Then he made Rogue Galaxy, which is Teo's personal favorite. Then he made Dragon Quest 8. They also made Dragon Quest 8, Dragon Quest 9.
Jeanne d'Arc, yeah.
There's Fantasy Life as well. There's plenty, I assure you.
Yokai Watch.
That too, yeah.
But that came after Ni no Kuni, so yeah. Anyway, let's report about this on
Let's go.
the characters.
Yeah,
But,
question.
yeah.
Let's go to home.
Yeah, that reminds me. How many writers are there in this game?
You mean sages?
No, writer.
No, he means like how many people wrote the game?
Oh, I think only one.
Oh,
Let me
okay.
check.
So I'm
The
guessing
creator-
that this quest in particular is where
It
you
feels
kind
weird though, Jova, now that you mention, because it feels that some of the story arcs were written by different people.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, a game this immense, it's hard to imagine one person doing that all on their lonesome.
Oh,
Only
trust me, Joe.
you
It's
want-
actually very common in Japan.
As I mentioned, only one writer, Nobuyuki Inoue, which he did. It works on Live Alive and saga. One of the I think it was also it was one. It was the director of Mother 3.
Yeah.
Oh.
You'd be surprised, Joe, but there were plenty of games like for example, Sakaguchi wrote the entirety of Final Fantasy VI, and that game has a shit ton of stories and optional quests with their own stories. Like, there were plenty of games back in the day that had that kind of. Let's not forget how, like, for example, like even today, I mean, Hino wrote Ni no Kuni entirely by himself. Even today, there's plenty of
True. What I'm saying is, like, I mean, if there was one writer, I guess I can see why the writing may have a few stumbles here and there for a game this immense.
Now, whenever... Oh, sorry, go ahead.
It depends on how good the writer is. Plenty of writers have managed to...
Well, oh, yes. And I'm not saying that, you know, like, well, it's guaranteed. It's just like, well, from what you guys are saying about the story arc, considering the one that you don't like, I guess I could chalk some of that up to him maybe not having as well focus on that one.
It's also not that by the fact, Jova, that the other two... Well, the Dragon story arc is okay. Not completely special, but it's very charming and epic in its own way. But the Jumi... Trust me, Jova, the Jumi story arc is so good. Like, you won't even believe.
Is this called Backyard Orchestra?
It's one of the boss themes.
This
Backyard Orchestra.
This is Shimomura trying her hand at this whole rock thing.
Yeah, which clearly doesn't fit with her style.
Oh, well, no. I actually like it.
Anyway, as I was mentioning, as soon as Gaeus tells you that there is a tree in your backyard, as you can come here, you get to fight this reed, and then you unlock another one of the features that you're gonna use in the game.
You get weed.
That actually reminds me of something.
Go ahead, Pedro.
I remember you telling me after you heard Hellfire from Final Fantasy 15 that it doesn't quite...
Yeah, it sounds more like a God of War track.
Yeah, well, as this game proves, she's way more versatile than you'd expect.
Suddenly, a Trent tree. You're going to be Pedro, might as well.
Yeah, this tree reminds... this is another thing that I'm... Okay, hold on. The mana energy, it is flowing into me. It is... This tree has a pedo face. Thank you.
Hello.
So essentially, what you need to do with this Trent is to give it seeds that you're gonna get.
Don't give it a seed.
You're gonna get seed through the game, either by quest or by loot, and you can give it to him, and he's gonna develop fruit, which you can get for yourself.
Now we have a tree
let's
that looks
see.
like a
In order to fill
Look
in
at
the
that
gap,
character portrait.
Hold on,
You're telling me that
let's
that's not a
see if it
pedo
is.
face.
Let's see if it
yeah,
is.
in order to fill you the gap, Shiroi, about the catgirl side quest, she needed to contact the Sage in order to help her consulting about. Essentially, one of her friends is dying and she doesn't know what to do. The Sage is simple enough, he told her, just do what she tells you to do. But the problem is that said friend wants to die, so you can imagine it's a bit of a pickle. But we're gonna get to that later on.
So let me get this straight. This tree, who has energy flowing into him, needs us to give him our seeds so that he may bear fruit.
I don't know what you're talking about. Anyway,
Pedo joke, because he's Jova's continuing.
No. It's more sexual reproduction.
Anyway, the point is,
if that helps you.
What's better?
The point is, you need to make days pass by walking through piece by piece, and then going back to your home in order to harvest the fruit.
What are we, Superman?
Thankfully, unlike with Nier, it doesn't use real time, so you can speed up the process really easily. It's
just what? Sorry.
This is one of those games where grinding for these kind of things is actually really easy and comfy to do.
It's like, is it like in Seaman where you can just skip time ahead?
Pretty much.
What are you trying to say here, Jova? That this guy is Superman?
Pete.
Oh, sorry. You wish to pick it?
Anyway,
Cabadillo.
Yeah, get it. It's like cabbage and armadillo. Anyway, I'm not gonna show every time I come here, only once again, in order to show specific events that happened. But aside from that, oh god.
Also, that tree, after this tale, before you go, I might as well show you a certain part of Dark Chronicle, because there's a tree in Dark Chronicle that clearly was inspired by this one.
Well, is it also by the Great Deku tree from Ocarina of Time?
Not so much. You'll see. You'll see. But anyway, the point I was trying to make earlier, even before 15, this game was one of the ones that proved that Shimomura is way more versatile than you'd think.
I guess. Also that means that she prefers to stick with
that's
her...
she has her comfort zone like all musicians do, but she is capable of stepping outside of it.
More so than others. Other than her, the only one I can imagine going for a similar style was Motoi Sakuraba.
Well, but Sakuraba is like basically the workaholic of the.
Yeah, I really don't understand that
How
man.
so?
It started in the early 90s. He hasn't stopped composing ever since. At least one game per year. How the fuck is he
Really?
managing to do that?
What's he most best known for?
Tales of,
Tales
Star
of,
Ocean,
Dark
Star Ocean
Souls.
and recently Dark Souls. Yeah. And that's it for this side quest.
The problem is that his incredibly busy work schedule kind of reflects on some of his soundtracks because
a lot of soundtracks sound similar to each other. That's the general consensus. Not to say they're bad, but in a sense that a lot of them feels recycled.
like for example, like Tales of Vesperia soundtrack, like that's one of the least memorable ones. But then you have Tales of Xillia, which is in my opinion the best Tales of soundtrack.
Mm-hmm.
We're still going home a lot.
Well, that's in order to report after each quest. Essentially, each party is gonna consist in
Pedro, no.
no tea time involved. Go ahead, Libs.
Thank goodness.
How dare you?
Shiroi, I think we can sacrifice the tea to not have to repeat that eternity of a mess.
Yeah, remember, Shiroi, imagine if every time you were taking tea, you would constantly hear in your head.
I just drowned it out.
Well, Shiroi, imagine that you would always have to imagine that the company from those tea rooms is there. I remember what you said. You like tea, but it's the company
Alright,
that
go ahead,
bugs you.
Libs.
Mr. Grandpa Tree is so big and scary, it makes me want to hide by his roots. His roots look like the best place to hide.
This is not helping that kind of video.
Oh, God.
You see what I see? I see. I was right. See?
And I didn't even notice while recording this game. Seriously, you guys,
You didn't know. You're
guys
trying
all-
to disappoint me.
you guys help me see things in different ways than I used to be. I don't even first Opala with her chair and now this.
That's what you have. That's what happens to when you get mixed with people of different cultures.
Tell me about it.
Anyway, see you for part 3, everyone.
See ya.
See you,
See
everybody.
ya.